because.
Oh, there's Margaret.
Hi, Margaret. Tara is
Hi.
just telling me what she's done.
Go ahead.
So yeah, so today he got it was a spooky morning. You know, we're getting to be September and fall and things are changing, and there were some new cows over there and it was breezy. So anyway, he was kind of big and not scary, but kind of big and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go get my wand and I'm going to take that with me, and I'm going to see if when he gets big and scary, can I stop? Because he stops and he's like, and then put it in front of him and see if he'll target that, see if that'll calm him down to target. And we had some success with that. So there's that. There was the scary target treat. And then once he got kind of calmed and realized, whatever, and we went a different direction, then there's I think I'd rather just stop, or I'd rather graze on grass. And so I need to know how to use or if it's effective to use my target that I'm carrying around with me in that instance too, because that's a different behavior. I'm fine, I'm not scared, but I really want to just stop and not go, or I just want to graze on grass. So they're those two behaviors. And then the other thing we did, then we went into the arena, and this is what my video will be that I put up. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to get him to target and step over a ground pole.
Yep.
So I did, and it was the grass arena again. So you'll be able to see in the video, he's thinking, should I graze, or, well, wait a minute, that looks kind of interesting what she's doing over there. So then he'd take a few graze. So, and I didn't have it set up really well, and the lead rope was kind of down on the ground where it shouldn't have been. And so he kind of got tangled in that a little. So anyway, that's kind of what I'll post today. So getting him to step over. So there's 3 different ways of using the target. Hello. So anyway, 3 different ways of using the target training: for scared, for go forward, and for going over a pole.
Perfect. For going over a pole, you could just show the target, because that gives information in the direction you want him to go.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would suggest click the moment he steps over with his first front leg, because that is actually the behavior that you want. You want them to go over an object, a pole.
Or even moving forward, like toward it. He had, like, I think in one instance, he may have had a step to go anything forward
that
toward
is
that
shaping.
Pole.
If they don't know, or they're insecure about a subject, it starts with looking at the object, moving towards it. If that is too big, even like a weight shift, you can make it like smaller. But like the rough shaping plan is like looking at it, moving toward it, and making more details about that starts with a weight shift. Because if they are stiff, then you have to just click for relaxation. Once the relaxation is there will be a weight shift. Once there's a weight shift, they can start moving forward, because if they're like this, they won't move forward. So I can help you with the details, so let's not go into that right now. So what exercises would you like to use, like, now? What are you capable of doing now? It's the in-hand walks.
Yeah, we in-hand walk right now, and I'm just out of superstition. I'm not going to ride him till after we move. So that's my superstition. We're just going to walk and I'd like to get him up to, we can walk for 20 to 40 to 45 minutes. I'd even like to walk him up to even an hour.
Great, because then you can start, for instance, in order to let it be a little bit more effective. I don't know if you're doing, I'm just assuming, so correct me if I'm wrong. If you're doing in-hand walks, let me phrase that as a question. Are you having like the same pace, like a continuous pace, or is it like faster, stopping, faster?
Well, it depends what he's thinking. Yeah, sometimes it's like, I really don't want to go to the end of that road. I think I'm going to stop. So we have that kind of thing going on.
Okay, but you can do that as a goal. Like, okay, I would like to have like a firm pace or a firm walk in one pace. That could be your goal to shape it. How to shape it, I will walk you through that in the Facebook group, because I don't want to get into the nitty gritty right now.
That will be my goal. That'd be great.
One pace, and then like active walk. I just write it down.
Yes, one pace active walk, and then if we need to use the target training to do that. But yeah, that'd be great.
That is like
Okay.
working backwards. Start with the ending goal. That's the
Absolutely.
end. If it doesn't work because he balks, he wants to graze, then we start working on that.
Okay.
Do you also have like an exercise in mind for what you would like to develop for long term? Because like you were talking about riding, is that something that you would like to use in the exercise program of your horse?
Yeah, I'm not sure how positive reinforcement, how I'm going to be able to do that. To me, that seems like,
well, the way
I do want to ride him. Yes. Okay. So eventually when we move over, I want to have him in a kind of a low level, kind of to build up his endurance and salmon and see what he can do.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So this is the question for all of you that I'm going to ask, like, what is the behavior that you can do right now that you maybe have been doing in order to exercise your horse, even if it's like a little bit of exercise, like even like 5-minute in-hand walk. If that is where your horse is starting, that's where you're starting. So I would like to have, because if you have like what you can do now in order to exercise and expand on that, and then what behavior would you like to develop in the future, then we can also think about a plan how to do that. Because after 14 days of training, I would really like you to have like, oh, I've written this down, I have a million ideas, I have a million partly shaping plans, I can do this. That's what my end goal is for you. Margaret was second coming in. So Margaret, I was just about to answer your question about the cues, about the verbal cues and the body cues. I will not talk about that now. I will do that in the Facebook group. For now, it's those two questions. What is the exercise that you can do with Candy right now? And what is one or two? We will talk about that. Margaret, Candy, I'll just write it down.
So like a short-term and a long-term goal as well.
Yeah, well, it's more like the exercising is so important for weight loss. So I would like you to start today that you have something that you can do today in order to create that habit. I don't want to spend like hours and hours and days of making a fabulous training plan, and then that you look back and think like, I haven't really exercised her these 2 weeks. I would like you to think like, hey, we started. So what can you do now? And what is something that you want to work towards that you can use as an exercise losing weight program for your horse in the future?
Okay, so I've actually, it was helpful hearing your discussion as I came in, your discussion with Sarah, because so
okay, 5 minutes.
Very quick. So right now, there is a rectangular paddock available, and as you can see from my video, I think at Liberty I can walk around, have her walk around the perimeter of the paddock, reinforcing her. And
perfect.
How many times? I haven't figured that out because I don't know.
Okay.
Interestingly, what Candy's been offering me recently when I turn her out is that little pony who won't trot for me will trot up a hill to join the herd. So you'd mentioned a 4-week goal, which is longer than the course on the Facebook. So I actually I think a sort of a medium term is to trot.
Yeah.
To do the same thing trotting, which involves, and I've designed a shaping plan. And long term though, what I really would like to do with her is long reining, probably in hand, probably starting with short reining. That's my long term.
Perfect. And since you are a member of the HippoLogic Clicker Training Academy, I can help you with that on the long term. And so, Well, for all of you
So
who
that's-
don't know, I have the HippoLogic Clicker Training Academy, which is a membership. And I just, well, in September, we will do weekly coaching calls instead of monthly coaching calls. There are some online courses available to members, and members get 15% discount on courses. Anyway, I just had to just tell that, so you know that if I say, well, to Margaret, I can totally help you with that, that is because she's in the membership. Start with short range. Perfect. Then next one, Rochelle. Hi, Kate.
Hi. Sorry I was late. I was finishing off the hay.
No worries, we all have lives.
Yes.
Rochelle, what would your like short-term goal is, or what would be the exercise that you can already do? And then with verve, and then what would you like to do on a long term, which is more which is also sustainable, so to say, like, because I don't really, well, it depends on how your lifestyle is. For me, it wasn't sustainable to do daily walks for like an hour or 2 hours. That didn't fit because I had like travel time to my horse. And I was thinking, like, once she's able to trot, I'm not in shape. I don't want to trot. I want her to trot. But that's yeah. So what is the exercise that you can do right now and expand on? And is there something that you would like to do in the future to make it sustainable too?
So at the moment, what we do a lot of is, as you probably saw, recall. We do a lot of recall. We do that twice a day with sort of high energy. And we've got about 2.5 hectares of land. So they usually come from one end to the other along the track at that speed. So
That's good.
Yeah. Sometimes a little bit slower if it's hot or if they're not really bothered about their feed. If I've come early for their feed, they're not as interested, but yeah, they'll come running for their feed. We play.
A recall is when you call your horse and the horse comes over. That's a recall. That's basically what Kate showed with standing on the mat and calling. That's recall. Yeah, thank you for the question. Sorry, Rochelle.
And we do chase the bag, chase the tiger. She doesn't offer that for very long, but when she does, she's very enthusiastic about it. So we play that quite a bit because it does entertain her for a little while. We've started playing with the yoga football, but we have to put Finn away because she learned that he's scared of it. And I think she actually, I don't know whether she does it on purpose. Logic would say she doesn't do it on purpose, but looking on her face as she does it, and then the fact that she repeatedly does it, she nudges it towards him and spooks him away from her. So he has to be put away.
Oh, well, it wouldn't surprise me if that just like a reinforcer.
Yeah. And yeah, so we have to put him away to play football. So we don't do that very often. We can't leave the yard or the field at the moment so much because Finn has really bad separation anxiety, which we did work on for a while, but due to his neurological issues, every time we work on something, it doesn't stick. We can work on it for months, and every day it's like 50 first dates.
Oh, yeah, I've seen one horse like that. I thought it was due to like so much, like almost learned helplessness, but like what you described was like, oh, that fits happy too.
Yeah.
Like it's so difficult.
Every behavior we train, it's really sad because he's such a wonderful horse, and he just has days where he forgets absolutely everything. And I've worked with sort of behaviorists with him, and they all just come to the same conclusion that it must be neurological. So, and I mean,
I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, at least he's with you, so I think he's in a great spot. And what would you like to do with Verve, like for like future exercising program?
So I want to do, well, a lot on like code to start written work. We've been.
Sorry, could you repeat that, because the sound was just like so I didn't really quite get that.
Okay.
Something about riding.
Well, we've started preparation for riding. We've got the comb pattern down, and we can sort of walk to the first, sometimes the second and third cone whilst ridden, but there's sort of a bit of a delay, and we need to keep practicing. I'm actually this weekend, my partner's going to help from the ground, or he'll ride, one or the other. We'll decide between us. So that's a sort of a long-term goal, is to sort of get the ridden behavior transfer, like cues transferred. And also the one that I'm working on at the moment, the figure of 8, to sort of expand the distance between the tires, and have her to start with walking out, going round and trotting back to me, walking out, going round and trotting back to me, and picking up the trot on the sort of as she comes out of the bend. I'm trying to do quite a bit of bending with her in general, because I think with her muscles, she's not very flexible. So we're really trying to work on that, because we had huge issues with taking rewards from the saddle, where I had to physically teach her that she was allowed to come out of her default position and reward her for flexing round to me, which she found very difficult for a while, but we've worked through that now.
Yeah, and there's also workarounds that you could use to start with, right? You could just put like food buckets and then throw a little piece of there, like in there while riding, like. But I understand that you would like to be able to feed from the saddle, so yeah.
Yeah, we're actually going to be, when we start back, because we've taken a week off because the grass had been a bit lush and it had upset her stomach. But yeah, now that that's on top, we're on top of that again. I had planned to introduce buckets alongside the cones to really try and get that clarity of moving from.
And is there also like an exercise like what you're doing that doesn't involve short outbursts of energy, but more like long term and building on stamina, like walks or?
Well, I 3-4 times a day, I put hay out throughout the entire track system, and she walks around constantly throughout the day collecting the hay, but we don't do anything together that's sort of long time, because I end up tired myself, because I've got sort of chronic pain problems.
Oh, okay, well, that makes sense. But yeah, giving her the opportunity to self movement is of self exercising. I don't know if that's an English word. It is now. Yeah, that, because we are going to talk about that too. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, once you have like the behavior, like the exercise program that you can do now, and how to think about how you can improve that, then we can talk about that in the Facebook group, and also your future like exercise program. Think about how you can, I can help you with shaping plan and help you get started. so that is the purpose of doing this exercise. We'll just wait for Kate when she comes back. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Kate, your turn. What are you doing with
am I unmuted?
What would you like to do with
Yeah, so I
treacle
guess
and-
it's kind of yeah. Can I go?
Yes, sorry.
So it's I think we've got a bit of a time delay. It's a little bit different in Treacle's circumstances because she does lessons during the day. So she is walking, but that walking isn't necessarily, you know, during lessons. She does up to 4. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second, darling. You're going to have to give me a minute and then I'll be straight up. No, you don't have to wait. Please go up. Sorry. I don't know, but you need to go up because I'm talking to people, please. In a minute. Sorry, I'm really sorry. This is Isaac. Right, go on.
Isaac.
Right,
Well,
okay.
just take a minute.
Sorry. They just wait until the exact time when you don't need it to happen.
Because that is
yeah,
when
so
they
she
get
does
the
up to like
best
4
attention.
lessons a day.
Sorry, that's what they
I
when
know,
they get the most
I'm the
attention.
nicest person because you can't see me shouting it.
There is a terrible
So
time delay.
when she's walking, I know there really is. I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna go for it. So when she's in lessons, she only does walk lessons, and she'll do up to 4 half-an-hour lessons a day, and that's it. And that will be is flatland, but there's probably not very good associations being made whilst that's happening. You know, we try and do the best we can, but at the end of the day, I can't get away from the fact that they have to do a job. So, you know, we have to deal with that. So she is moving for sure. We also have our track system, but at the moment they're just doing some building work. So she moves through the track system. And that's why I really wanted to do this, because even though she's doing this, she is not losing, doesn't seem to be losing enough. Anyway, she has lost weight, but not enough. Adding to that like 1.5 years ago, I got diagnosed with like quite bad arthritis in my knee, and I now have I have to wear a brace every day, all day, every day. So it really stopped me from walking for about 1 year. And yeah, and I've had an operation, so I'm kind of getting back into it, but it's not something that will go away. So anything that I can get the horse to go, my behavior that I would like to do is like a free schooling, but not free schooling in an aversive way. So I don't have to move much. I can use the arena and I can do walk, trot, and then eventually maybe a bit canter would be amazing. And then that could be how I could manage it as well, because it sucks.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like your treacle, I love that name. Does it mean anything? Oh,
No. To be honest, she wasn't wanted anywhere else. And I met her, and in 2 minutes I was like, she'll be perfect with us. She needs to come with us. So, because she is a bit awkward movement wise, but it's fine.
so for her, she gets like she gets movement. Let's make it different, like movement and exercise. Exercise is building muscle. I don't know enough about, this is what my guess is. If you have a certain movement, like exercise, you build muscle. If you're just moving around, you don't build muscle. Muscle uses a lot of calories to sustain. So if I go window shopping and I'm slugging and I can do like 5 kilometers, I think it would be better if I wanted to lose weight to do 5 kilometers of like brisk walk, because then you get that, like your heart's
Yeah, you're right.
pumping. So realizing that will help you think about a sustainable exercising program. Like, and then there's also intake. But if they are in a group, you are already doing a track system. Sometimes if they are in a group, they do get their movements, but they are still overweight. So it could also be, I haven't asked you, do you think there's like an underlying physical illness maybe?
Yes, absolutely. No, I think it's confirmation. She has been checked out by our vet before. I mean, she is very cresty. She has like a little bit of, it's not confirmed COPD, but you can hear her sometimes, but we've had her checked out and everybody says it's fine. And, you know, so that's why I really want to shift that weight to see if that will make the difference. But no, as far as I know, she, as far as we've had her checked out, she's come up with nothing, which it surprises everyone.
Just give a little bit of time for the delay. Okay. So yeah, one question for you. Do you think that there is an underlying illness? What do you feel despite of what everybody says?
I think she has some kind of EMS-y something. There's got to be. I mean, personally, that's my opinion, but
because what like the way you keep the horses, I haven't seen it, but from what you're telling me is like, indeed it is weird that she's still cresty and in the shape that she is. It is also, I think, maybe part of how they bred the horses. Like they are looking for that look. And then yeah, I'm just I'm distracted by Margaret's chat. I should just pay attention when I'm ready, but it's good to put everything in the chat, so keep doing that. Well, I lost my train of thought. Anyway.
So yeah, I agree. What I'm telling you, you'd think that all our horses would not be overweight, but it is something that we have struggled with for years and years. And partly now I think it's a lot to do with what you're saying. There's a big difference between exercise and just strolling along, which is what our horses do. They mumble along because I won't let anyone pull them. So it gets a little bit difficult, but also, you know, it is so completely flat where we are. They're just kind of like eat, walk, eat. It's, I still don't think they do. I did attach a tracker to some of them, and I think I'm going to go back and do that. So maybe I can just actually get a really good view of what's going on, because it doesn't necessarily add up, but they were a lot better when people used to ride them and school them. But A, we don't have the manpower, and B, it's just not our ethos to work in that way anymore. So we're not going to do it.
Yeah. So this is where you are in transition. They used to be ridden, they used to be in a little bit of better shape, and you decided to change your course, which I agree, and I totally am on board with that. So that is to be expected that, yeah, you need to find another way. So that is where the horse,
yeah, need to find a balance.
Yes, and balance is always like,
yeah,
whoop, 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 until you are like balanced. And even a balance is not as stamina thing. It's even though it gets smaller and smaller, it's like daily basis. It's like feeding like on the eye, like, okay, my horse gets too much weight, little bit more exercise maybe, or a little bit less food, depending on what you feed and so on. And it's a daily thing. Like even, yeah, I notice it now. I'm not like a teenager anymore. So yeah, that's so for you, for treacle would be great if she could do maybe a little bit more energy outburst, but also like the steady brisk walk is, I think, really great to work with. For you, Kate, is of course, well, I was just a lazy trainer. So I was just thinking like, how can I let my horse do the movement instead of me? That's why I was so focused on teaching Kira to move without me moving, because it would simply not be sustainable for me to trot or run along for 5 minutes. For you, of course, with your in your situation, you just want to do that. So a recall is good, but I think if you could teach treacle to go around cones, I think that is a really good exercise for all of you, because you can make the distance of the cones larger and larger until you have half of the arena, or maybe even whole of the arena. If you are with 2 people, you can do the whole of the arena pretty quickly, because then you don't have to run to deliver a treat. So you could really use that. And like in that video that you showed.
So sorry, James, I'm on a call. Sorry.
Totally fine.
It's okay, you can carry on.
Totally fine. So if you, in the video that you did with treacle, when you just watch what the distance is the horse does when they cut corners, that sounds negative, but they just learn just to touch with their nose, and then they turn, touch that, turn, touch that. So they don't really walk a great distance. Once you can send your horse around cones, they move more. They don't do the quick bends, like like the turns that are heavy on the body, because you can just add more cones, like for a turn instead of 1, and want your horse to go like do a 90-degree turn, you can put 3 and make it like a really soft bend, and then on the other like corner you do 3 more, so you can get like more like gentle bends on the body. And the same with
absolutely.
I
was going to say, that makes total sense to me, and I can see that planning at how that would work. For me, I think my biggest challenge is getting her moving, because I don't know if I've ever seen treacle maybe do a fast walk or I've seen her do a trot on the lead rein, which she didn't like at all, and we don't trot her anymore. So yeah, that's going to be the real challenge.
So for you, I'm just blurting out ideas what you can do. So pen and paper, what you can do is not on the lead rope, but just she can target, right? So you just walk, show the target. Once she moves forward to the target, click, treat, or click, target away, treat, and you keep walking. So until you have like, you can do a brisk walk, build up to a brisk walk. What you also can do, maybe in the same exercise, put some mats there and just let her go from mat to mat, because that gives clarity. I have to go there. There's my click and treat. I have to go there. There's my click and treat. In order to do that, you need to probably do a little bit more of mat training, because otherwise
that was
you
the
would,
first time.
yeah. So I have a blog. I will share the link to blog mat training. So what I always do is also try to reinforce the opposite behavior. I have once ridden a horse that just learned to stand on a pedestal. My instructor taught her horse that. So when I was riding, every time we went into that corner where the pedestal was, chop, he jumped on, and he was like, so he got a little bit frustrated, and I got frustrated because I am riding, I am in charge, because I was like that back then. But after a few times, then he realized, okay, it's not leading to reinforcer. And what I have learned is that you can, but that's later on. So what I reinforce for in the beginning is stepping on a mat or moving towards, looking at, like make it smaller, small. So once they know on the mat, for treacle, it will be fabulous because just standing still is reinforcing. And then reinforce for stepping off of the mat. If she can target, you just wave your magic wand and say like, come on, walk on, whatever. So moving off of the mat is also reinforced, because later on you want to use mats, so you can send your horse from mat to mat, but you also want them to think about the next mat, and coming off of the mat is also reinforcing. So you don't have a horse that is like frantically think, where's the mat? Because I want to be there because I can stand still.
So it starts becoming about the movement, like the forward movement. Okay.
So for treacle, if you do your next training stepping on a mat, do you have, how many mats do you have?
Oh, well, I can get, actually, we've got a pile that I found around Conquest. So I'm just going to use those. I don't know what they're for, but I might get told off. But
so what you can do is in the mat training, and see if it works. If that goes too fast, we have to go back. But because a straight line is really, really good for her. So you ask her to stand on the mat, you click and treat, you ask her to step off of the mat and go to the next mat. In the beginning, put the mats like really close together, like, you know, just one step, like maybe that's 50 centimeters or something. So just focus on where the front legs are. Okay, front legs are on the mat. Then I want her to step one step in the sand, and then the next step onto the next mat. And then you start clicking for that, and then see what happens.
Have a play.
Have a play. Do that like 5 times stepping on a mat, and then walk her around, or just let her stand off, not on the mat, scratch her. Just take the time to connect with her, like doing nothing, and that's the break, and then start again, and then play it by ear. If you think, oh, she doesn't understand, she doesn't want to, just find something else. Play with your reinforcers and stuff. Okay, I'm going to answer some questions. What recall, we answered that. My vet wanted me to chase Candy around for 10 minutes of canter daily to lose weight. She's probably right about the canter. Eventually, I don't agree with the chasing. I don't agree with the chasing. I've done that once. Kira got really, really upset with me. I think if you walk her in hand for 10 minutes to start with, and have a steady pace, and build that up to 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on where she's at. It takes a little bit longer, but the relationship is there, and then eventually it pays off so much. Yes, Margaret.
Just a further question to that. I mentioned Candy is actually trotting uphill when I turn her out, if the herd's generally at the top of the hill. How can I use that? Like you mentioned once reinforcing that. Would I try to, like, would I keep her on the lead line or leave her off she's off the lead line at that point. Do I try
would
and
leave her
stop her
off.
and
I would leave her
reinforce,
off
or just go
because,
with her, reinforce at the top, or what do I do?
well, that's the beauty of positive reinforcement. You have a bridge signal. So the moment she takes off,
Oh,
you
right.
click. You try to deliver the treat as soon as possible. So in the beginning, you will get less because they will stop and say, oh, a treat, you know, but then, or because you can capture the behavior, click when she's like almost up there, and then try to deliver the treat as fast as possible. The behavior in itself is already reinforced because she already does that. But just to make it clear, you can actually capture it, but then just don't capture her like at the beginning of the hill, but when she's almost on top, just before she starts slowing down, because you want that canter, right? And then and sometimes it's just reinforcing enough to say, yay, Candy, you're cute, blah, 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 blah. They love that too. Then you don't have, that is a reinforcer, the attention. Play with that, see what happens. If you click too soon, of course, if you bridge, you will interrupt the behavior for a treat. So you don't want to bridge too early because she already does that to the whole hill. So you don't want to lose it. Even if you lose it at first, you can build it up. But yeah, I would think of a way to reinforce sometimes just the attention. And you know what? I experimented with this. I applauded for my horse, my first pony. He was not used to an audience, but I was like, yay! And like the energy that they feel, they love that energy too. So at least you have like a signal, yes, this is good, great, Candy, keep going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
And then Sarah says, Remy is on full pasture turnout and gets a lot of movement, but it's not enough to make any improvements in fitness. He spends just too much time eating and just meanders around most of the time, even though we have hills. Well, what you could do is like, yeah, we will talk about that in the weekend, a little bit about management and track systems, and see if you can just, I know you're moving, but keep that in mind. Like sometimes it really already helps to keep the water away from the food, because usually after they, especially with hay, if they had hay, they like to have a sip of water after the hay. So you just entice movement. But yeah, movement and really exercising is not the same thing. I have found with Kira, which surprised me so much, the more I exercised her, the more she got in shape, the less she wanted to eat, even though she had EMS, which is diabetes 2, and they're hungry all day long, even more than normal horses that's supposed to eat 16 hours a day. So yeah, and then the other thing that really comforted me is the moment, even though when Kira just got laminitis and she was sick and she was super overweight, like body score 9, I was just thinking every 20 minutes or every half hour, I have her away from her paddock, not thinking about food or eating. Yes, she got like little hands full of soaked beet pulp with almost no calories and lots of fiber. At least that was time that she didn't spend eating. So that is also a thing that you in like calorie intake, the more you spend with them, if you spend like 20 minutes grooming and then have like 20-minute walk, they are not eating for 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's why I try to go out there and do the walk. Of course, I'm boarding, so I can't, go out there. But actually, where he is currently, the barn owner did put the automatic waters up at the top of the hill, so they actually do have to go up. And so she has designed it somewhat like that, so it does keep them moving a lot. But then they're out there eating 24/7. So our new situation is going to be it's going to be in and then out. He's going to have a stall, which he hasn't had. And I'm not one to like stalls for horses much, but I think that this might actually work well, because if he can get turned out at night, my goal is to get out there to work with him during the day and bring him out of his stall for exercise.
Oh, we have a little, you're frozen. I'll just wait.
So in other words, instead of having complete grass all the time, he'll have that time where he's in and he's getting, I know how much hay, and then I'll target I have a flexible schedule most of the time that I can get out there when he's inside, and we're going to do our exercise during that window most of the day. So I actually think it might work more in our favor to have a little more of a traditional setup. So as long as I can work it that way. So that's kind of my plan with him.
I think you're right. I had that with Kira too. When I moved her to a different facility, she had to be inside during the night. And what happened was she was way more active when I was there, because she didn't get all that movement. So that movement wants to get out of her body in that 1 hour a day that I was with her. And like what you said, I totally agree. Like, yeah, this might not be the thing that we agree with or want long term or whatever. But once you are in that situation, you might as well take advantage of it.
And see, here we don't have track systems. Like Rochelle, you're so lucky to have a track system that just doesn't exist here. That would be like the ideal, where they don't have a ton of grass, because at our place we have a ton of lush grass, or it's really short, and that's actually higher in sugar when it's really short. So you can say, look out and say, oh, well, there's not much grass out there, but they're getting a ton. So barring, the access to a track system, which would be awesome, or a dry lot setup, which we just don't have. His stall can be like his mini dry lot, and then I'll take him out and exercise him. So that's the plan.
Yeah, and what you can think of is, what can you feed him in bulk in his stall that doesn't is so nutritious. For Kira, one thing that I noticed when she had her laminitis attack, and she got on a crash diet like the first few days, because I was just overwhelmed. I just did what the vet recommended. Then I thought it doesn't work, because she started pacing. She got like high stress, which in EMS will cause more weight gain. She started eating wood, blah, 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 blah. So what I did was I thought fiber, she needs fiber. How can I provide fiber? Because now she's eating wood. So I was just trying to prevent that and think like, what does she want? She wants fiber. How can I prevent that without giving her like calories? So what I did was I provided a hay net, a double net, a normal hay net with straw. It also depends on what kind of straw, but she didn't like straw. And I found a way to really think like, some days she didn't touch the straw and it hung there for days. While other days, I don't know what happened, the quality of the hay or something happened, and she ate all the straw. It was like, I tried to give her like one, what is called slice?
Flake. Well, we call it flakes. I don't know if y'all call
that's the word. Yeah, I
think in England they call it something different.
a flake of straw providing there. So she had always something to munch on, even though she didn't like the straw, but she preferred it above the wood. So, and that gave me also information about how she's feeling, what she's needing. So those are like kind of little management things that will add up in the end, and it gives you information, because the more information you have about how your horse is feeling, what he needs, the better you can provide that, find ways to provide that.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to what do people use for mats? Well, I can tell you just a sum up. We can do that in the Facebook group, but you can do pieces of plywood. I like to use puzzle mats. They're cheap, they're durable, but sometimes they blow away in the wind. You can use doormats, especially rubber doormats. They're quite pricey, but they don't blow away in the wind. So, and any everything else, put it in the chat. And Candy is in overnight and has a hay net on the ground, basically a hay pillow, and she prefers it to loose hay. Now she doesn't have shoes. Yes, that is excellent, because that's also one of the management things that we can do. Slow
Mhm.
feeders. If your horse gnaws holes in the slow feeder, let me know. You can train your horse to use slow feeders by just offering different choices. When Kira was on a diet, she just was in the habit of just biting the hay net, and so she could pull everything out. So what I then did was providing hay in like big holes nets, loose hay in a big hole net, and smaller hole. So she had
Mhm.
3 choices. So of course she gobbled up the first, like the loose hay, and then she also could manage herself to get the patients to nibble on that, like a bigger holes
Mhm.
net. And then eventually, when she was hungry enough, she started to figure out how to use the 1.5 inch, or I think that the smallest was 2 inch, the other
Mhm.
one was like 5 inch, even was square, so there were big holes. So in that way, like that is also kind of enrichment, like offer hay in different ways. And then once she was used to the hay nets, that saved me a lot of money, because in the beginning I kept buying hay nets with super small holes. It frustrated her, it frustrated me. That was my workaround. All the other questions we can talk about in the Facebook. We have 6 more minutes. Is there, let me see my notes. So everybody has an exercise that they can just do now on a daily basis. Think about exercises that you would like to develop long term. I will help you, Kate, with figuring out how you can let Treacle do the exercise, and you can stand in the middle, because that is just, because that's sustainable. That's sustainable for us, and I think for all of us. And that's sustainable for the horse, because once your horse is learned that with positive reinforcement, they like to do that. And then think of a feasible training schedule. Who has thought of that? Like so many times a week, so many minutes. Raise your hand if you thought about a schedule. Perfect. Rochelle's. Okay, Rochelle. So for you, the question is, yeah.
Ours is more currently dependent on the weather.
Yes.
We're hitting storm season, so we've lost the blistering heat of the day, kind of.
Now it's a
But now we've got thunderstorms. So last night Verve didn't sleep well, I don't think, because she was really, really spooky, and which isn't so much like her, but it usually happens sort of the day after a storm. So I think it's a lack of sleep. So we got about 5 minutes of training before she was just like, no, I need to go and check out this thing that's happening over here, which was a cow.
Yeah, so that is really, really good. I'm glad you're mentioning that, because there will always be things that will happening, like that we don't control, like the weather, like the neighbor putting cows there, like other horses if you are in a boarding facility, or the other horses coming in or leaving or changing facilities. Well, you have control over that, but you don't have control about how your horse is going to react on that. And still, it's good to think like, okay, the goal is to have like, especially if your horse is really overweight, what can you do? Can you do 15 minutes in hand walking? If there is storm season coming up, how can I still do that? Like checking the weather report, doing it in the morning, being flexible. How can you do that? Like think of ways how you can do it. Because that's the positive reinforcement mindset. How can we do it? How can we create it? Instead of thinking, well, I have no influence over that. No, you don't have influence about storm, but if you know a storm is coming, maybe you can do something in the morning, or you can ask somebody to help. So that's also the mindset I want everybody to focus on. What can I do? Because eventually, if you don't do anything, your horse will stay overweight, and that's what we don't want. So again, what do we want? We want a horse that is in shape. Sometimes also changes of weather can also help the horses lose weight, because sorry to say, they are a little bit stressed. They eat less in the night because there is a storm. So, well, if they are losing calories because of that, then maybe you don't have to walk the horse the next day. So it's all like taking in like as much information, what is influencing my horse's physical state, and how can I use that information to go and move towards the horse getting in shape. Yeah, Sarah says, I do not blanket in the winter for the most part, and Remy loses weight due to burning more calories to keep warm. I noticed the same thing with Kira. In winter, I did not have to worry about her weight. Like the keeping them warm, but that only works if you provide them with enough fiber, because it's the fiber that keeps the bacteria in the hindgut working. So that's a really good point. Anything like around the table question quickly? Who has a question? Margaret.
Very quickly, I just want to clarify this. If my knowing that I want Candy eventually to trot either on a straight line or around cones or around the enclosure, with my hand walking, should I introduce following the target early for the hand walking, or just keep using my cue, my body cue with the voice, which she only obviously uses the body cue? What should I do?
Well, this is traditional thinking. The traditional thinking is
That's me.
But that's okay. But once you recognize it, you will recognize it when you're doing it, and then you can change it. So you need to have awareness. This is traditional thinking. I give a cue, which is basically then a command. I give a cue, and then the horse will do it, right? But in positive reinforcement, we want that the horse will offer the behavior. So that will be your question. How can I set up my training that Candy will offer walk and trot? Like, so if you want a training system, like if she can stand on a mat, use multiple mats, start reinforcing her for moving from mat to mat. Eventually, that's a shaping plan, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but I do have some videos that I can share with you. Eventually, the horse will think, okay, I'm standing on this mat. I know I will get a bridge when I'm moving to that mat. And I also know, because that's how I trained it, moving off of the mat, click and treat. If you have multiple mats, you can click and treat on the next mat. So the sooner the horse is to that next mat, the sooner they get candy or get treats. So they will start offering brisker walks, faster, and you can reinforce that, go to the mat, and then they will eventually start offering trot. So for candy, I would just start doing some mat training, and really for you focusing on when is my horse offering the behavior instead of reacting on what I do.
Thank you so much
set
for
it up.
pointing that out. Thank you so much. It's such a fundamental concept.
You're welcome. And it's hard, and I will repeat and repeat and repeat. It took me like so many years to realize, oh, because once the horse offers it, then you know he has learned it. Because otherwise he's just passively waiting. Oh, I get pushed. Oh, I will go. Oh, you go. I will go. Instead of like, I will go because I want to have my reinforcer. And once the horse is in that mindset, you can really quickly build on duration, faster, this distance, and so on. Anyone else has one last question? Shake your head. No? Everything
I just
else?
want to say thank you to everybody because, like, you know, the HippoLogic community and this group is so supportive. I am in such a negative barn. It is so difficult for me at the moment, and I just want to thank you so much.
You're welcome. I really want to second that. I really love how you support each other, how you react to each other's Facebook post, because just giving it a like or heart, that I usually put something like a like or a heart, so I know, at least for my, I want you to know I support you. And for me, it's also, okay, I've seen that reaction because it's too much. But I really, every time I press the heart or press the thumbs up, I really send that vibe because I really think it is good. I love all your reactions to each other, because that is how you build a community and how we all feel supported and can just, yeah, do it. Perfect. We'll see you on Sunday. If there are issues coming up or struggles, I will just do another
All right, is
Zoom
it
call.
Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday. Same time,
Oh,
9 to 10 a.m. Pacific.
Oh, it's Sunday. Okay. Mixed up. So I can join you.
Great.
It's Saturday. I'm busy.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, see you later, guys. Bye. Happy horse
Bye.
training.